I've had a glimpse of enlightenment. It has been given to me as a prize, I think. Just a couple of seconds. It's like I'm in a flow. In that flow, I have Babaji, Mataji, I have Shiva, I have. So they're pulling me, not someone else, but because I'm in that flow, this is what I feel. But at the end, also them have let go their individuality, and there's simply a very higher flow of the energy, which is indirectly pulling me up. What happens through practice and through awareness? You simply turn around the other way. You live in the superconscious mind mostly, and so you're very well aware of the storage in your subconscious. You're very well aware of your programs, and so you simply disconnect them. You become the master of yourself. You're not more slave of your identifications and of your processes. And then when you pass from Kriya Yoga to Kriya Pranayama, you're cleansing everything. You're bringing everything up and burning it out with your breath. And you're bringing in prana and cleaning everything. And it's you're working also on your physical body, because you're feeding prana, you're feeding energy to you're developing ATP, and your mitochondrial system will just boost, and this will give you a lot of energy, will rejuvenate you. That has nothing to do with fitness. I mean, it's tantra.
Hi, this is Akanksshaa. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul podcast and a talk show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. We have with us today Marco from Italy. He is also known by the spiritual name Arjuna. So Marco Arjuna, and he's a Kriya Yoga teacher and master trainer for NLP and hypnosis. A very warm welcome, Marco, to Multidimensional Soul podcast and a talk show. It's a privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Akanksshaa. It's very nice to be here with you.
So can you tell us about your journey? How did you get interested in Kriya Yoga, and how did you receive your initiation?
It's a very long story. I try to make it very short. I've always been very near to the ethical subjects, and since I was very little, I felt very detached from many things. For example, in Carnival, when all people get dressed up, I don't know, like a cowboy or an Indian or a pirate. I did it a couple of times, but I felt very stupid. I was looking out from the mask, and I said, "But what's the fuss about it? I'm not my mask. I'm not my clothes." No, so I didn't feel very involved in it, and I was felt this thing even more in my life. When I was 18 years old, I had a very clear dream. I still remember also physically. I was on. I don't visualize very well, so it was like a cartoon. That's my visualizations. And I was on the top of the ridge of a mountain, and it was if I was part of the mountain, and there was a very loud voice that said, "Okay, now choose, evil or good. Choose now." And I was quite shocked, and I said, "Why choose good? Of course, there's no choice, no, in my dream." And I felt it was really a life choice, a life seek. And I've been attacked for a couple of years by entities afterwards. And that was a very difficult period at night for me. And I knew I had to search for something, for some truth. But it was not I'm not mental. I don't keep on thinking and overthinking. I feel things. I'm more instinctive, more connected to the Buddhi, if I have to use a term, a physical term. And I started reading about philosophy. And until the day I was walking out of the house and came, what do you call them, the orange monks. And he asked for some money, and I gave him an offer, and he said, but I can't just have an offer. And he gave me the Bhagavad Gita in change. And the Bhagavad Gita remained there for some years, looking at me and smiling at me, and I never opened it. Until one day, my wife said, I loved her very much. She told me, I have to give you news. I want divorce. Out of nothing, really. And I fainted. It was really a shock for me. But out of that drama, out of that really painful moment, it was really, really painful, something switched. A friend of mine, he was a very spiritual person, said, okay, read Autobiography of a Yogi. And so from then onwards, everything started. And I read also the Bhagavad Gita. And so it was 1993. And from then onwards, it has been an unveiling path with no end. And anything happening in between 1993 and today is something that it's keeping pulling me somewhere.
Oh, okay. So when you talked about these entities troubling you, what kind of entities were they? Did you get to know about it? And then finally, how did you protect yourself from them?
There were sort of vibrations, a vibrating energy. And I could feel that vibrating energy. It was like if it was putting two hands on me and trying to enter my body. And I knew that if it would enter my body, I would be switching to my dark side. I mean, I chose good versus evil. And if that happened, I would turn on the other side. I knew that, I understood that. But I understood also it was my willpower to let that thing in or not. And so I didn't let it in. But I was left really in terror afterwards, because I felt that terror while I was feeling those two hot things on my body. And before that happened, I could feel the energy arriving, like waves, physically. But I knew that thing could nothing against my willpower, not physical one. I mean my energy, if I opposed it. And simply, I had no tools and I had no one helping me. So what I did, I'm not religious, but the only thing I knew, I started praying when it happened. I couldn't sleep no more. I prayed all night. It was like a mantra. Then I discovered mantras afterwards. It was like using mantras. And still, I think mantras are a really powerful tool.
So you were initiated in Kriya Yoga in 1995.
Yes.
So how can you say this path is different from other paths? Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Before, it was like finding some clues, some tools, some little things, and trying to work with them, but with no real organization, with no one really behind. When I found Kriya Yoga, I wasn't searching for Kriya Yoga. I was searching for Babaji, and I don't know, because like thousands and thousands of persons reading autobiography of a yogi. There's just a few sentences about Babaji, but that's the key to open something else. So that something else opened, and I found a route on which to stabilize myself, and all the techniques that help me to first ground and then lift myself. And in doing so, I understood I was becoming a big magnet. And this was keeping things coming to me, persons and things, and that probably I had a mission. But it was not in my head. I simply knew it. Something that has been revealing to me day by day by simply knowing it and not asking me many questions. I simply knew what I had to do, and I did it. This swept away fear from my life.
What I understand is you were initiated by Swami Sachidananda, and even within Babaji's lineage, there are different paths. I understand Yogananda's lineage is little different, and that is Babaji, Lahari Mahasya, Yukteswarji, and then Yogananda. And yours is little different. So there are different variants in that. So can you just talk about your experiences with Swami Sachidananda? How did you meet him, and how is that lineage a little bit different than other lineages?
Well, how I met Sachidananda, it was 1995. It was the first years of internet. So I collected different informations, and at first I contacted SRF in the US, but they offered me online. I mean, not online, but it was online. But to send me some material to study, and we had to work that way. But I felt no connection really, so it was something very, very mental for me. I mean, it was not what I was searching, and nothing wrong with it. I mean, it was simply not my approach. I wanted something more direct, more physical. And so reading about Babaji, I read that he set out of Agastya's cave until nearly to death for having initiation. And I said, okay, I'll do the same thing. So I couldn't sit out of Babaji's cave, of course, but I said, I won't eat until something arrives. And I fasted for 3 days, working, making heavy sports, having my full life. I fasted for 3 whole days. At the end of the third day, popped out in the research engine. There was only Alta Vista at that time. Popped out the news that there was an initiation seminary in Milan the next week. I said, that's perfect. So I stopped starving, and I booked in, and it was Sachidananda's lineage, the only one at that moment present in Italy. It's not the only lineage I've met. I mean, I know very well Shankarananda Giri of the lineage of Alayiri Mazayas Rikt as well. It's a Swami I beloved, really. I like him very much. And there's a great connection between us. Every time he comes in Italy, I've been his translator for some years. I've been at all his 3 initiations. So it's simply different. It's more like connected to the astrological part. I'm very logical, so that's a more an astrological and mystic approach. So it doesn't match with my needs. Though it's fantastic, and I beloved Swami Shankarananda, so nothing wrong also with that. They work in a different way. They all bring to the same result. It's simply a matter of, in your life, what are the tools you need best. That's why they are different schools. So there's no competition. There must be no competition. Simply different tools. I mean, some persons to self-realize do the doctors, some do the engineers, some do the different approaches, different lifestyles, different karmas, different dharmas. That's all. It's a more a lot. It's more to do with a logical path, the one with Sachidananda. There are more Western techniques coming from the Siddha tradition. So they come from the very old tradition. So there's a great tradition, this lineage, but with a very logical approach. And I like that because people today, they don't need gurus. They have to be their own gurus. But this has to do very much with awareness. We have to evolve also with our logical and physical part. Kriya Yoga is a tantric tradition. We have to self-realize also with our bodies. So this is why I'm very in Sachidananda's lineage.
Yeah, beautiful. You have researched awareness for 40 years. How has your understanding of awareness evolved over so many years? And how does Kriya Yoga help in developing awareness?
I would like to say it's something that switches. It's something immediate, an enlightenment, but it's not true. It's a very hard and continuous work. We have a lot of identifications in our life, and these identifications just drag you down. It's like being in a balloon, and this balloon can't take off from the ground because it's full of weights. These weights are the false identifications. So you have to work on yourself very hardly to let go. People think I put things in and I evolve. No, it's exactly the opposite. You have to let go. You have to let go the fact you're born in Milan, so you're Northern Italian, and you're better than any other Italian. You have to let go. You've been born in that family. You have that surname. You have to let go. You are white, yellow, pink, red, or blue. You have to let go. You have material possessions. That lesson is very hard. I mean, if you don't understand it, you will understand it the hard way. I've lost everything 2 or 3 times, depending on how much everything you want to put in it. To really detach from things. And now I've rebuilt everything. I mean, I have material possessions, but there's nothing wrong with it. I have a nice house. I've been changing some furniture. There's nothing wrong, as long as there is no attachment to it. You're ready to lose everything again. And that makes you lose a very important thing, fear. Because most of the attachments you have are out of fear. Who am I? What shall I do in life if I don't have a lot of money, if I don't have a brick house, if I don't have this, if I don't have... Who am I? When you lose that thing, you really arrive to understand who you really are. So this is how you unveil yourself from what prevents you to find the truth. And then you become aware. And when you become aware, it's a no return status. As long as you lose fear and lose attachments and false identifications, you start living in a 5th dimension. And so things simply start coming. It's not miracles or Siddhic powers, it's simply connection. When you're aware, you're connected. So many things lose grip on yourself. You simply are a free person. Also, identifying with Siddhic powers, it's a mistake. It's a trick. It's a trick from the ego again. No? Identify with some power. I'm powerful. I'm Arjuna. No, you're not that. You're using that part to be someone because you have a mission. That's all. A life purpose. That's being aware from. I don't have truth. That is my opinion.
So, how can people develop this awareness in day-to-day life? What can they do? How can they practice it?
There are many paths. There is not only yoga, there's not only Kriya Yoga, there's not only Sachidananda's line. I mean, everybody has to find his or her path. But people have to start to learn by feedbacks. People have to be like scientists in their life, experiment and work on feedbacks, trying to clean them from biases. Biases are terrible. In something, you search for all the clues that will make yourself right and the best person possible. But that's not true. People have to stop living on biases. That's difficult because for doing this, you have to accept. You have to accept, especially the negative experiences, because the negative experiences are feedbacks that are telling you that something is not working in your life. And once you understand that and you go in deep in that with meditation, with the logical approach, with philosophical approach, with psychological approach, it doesn't matter, and you really want to search in yourself your inner truth, you start to become aware and evolve. Why is yoga functioning? Because it gives you tools to do that with all the bodies in the same time. So that's very powerful. You start working on that with all the bodies in the same time through the various techniques. And this is mind-blowing. I mean, you start to work with your physical body in Kriya Yoga. But in this exact moment, you're working with your physical body, you're working also with your energetical and emotional body. And then when you pass from Kriya Yoga to Kriya Pranayama, that's cleansing. You're cleansing everything. You're bringing everything up and burning it out with your breath. And you're bringing in prana and cleaning everything. And it's you're working also on your physical body, because you're feeding prana, you're feeding energy to you're developing ATP, and your mitochondrial system will just boost, and this will give you a lot of energy, will rejuvenate you. That has nothing to do with fitness. It has to do with the process, which the end of it is transcendental. I mean, it's tantra. My body is becoming spiritual. That's why you rejuvenate, simply because you're letting go what kills you. I mean, it's also in the Western tradition. Jesus Christ ascended to heaven with his body. That's absolutely tantrical. So it's that process that we begin. I don't pretend to ascend with my body to heaven. I mean, I'm not so high in the energy. But that is the process, and that thing we begin, and that thing will just lift you up, and your energy will become a very powerful magnetic field that will lift up persons near you. And that's the process, which is we have to let go also another thing, and that's his fifth dimension, truly. We have to let go also our individuality. Think your energy is your energy. It's not your energy. Energy is energy. And simply energy is intelligence. It's not intelligent, is intelligence. And so energy just flows. This reminds me of Leibniz, a philosopher, which talked about energy and the energy becoming more dense in a certain point where it becomes dense. It's an entity, a person, an animal, or something. Also Giordano Bruno, he was burned for his ideas in 1400, that understood this thing very clearly. He was a great initiate, and nobody sees him as this. Energy simply flows in you, Akanksshaa, in me, but it's the same energy. And now it's flowing in you and me, and I feel we are connected because energy is once in and out. It's the same field, so we are the same thing in two different points, in two different condensations. And this is a great voyage because it's energy making its own trip to awareness. I don't know other words. It doesn't sound right. It sounds terribly wrong, but it's the only words I can use. So you have to let go also your individuality. That doesn't mean forgetting of yourself, but understanding you're part of something way, way, way bigger, way bigger. And so you become a great magnet, and this magnet starts lifting up all the field around you. That means persons, animals, your house. People, when they enter my house, they immediately feel more stable. They feel, but because the energy field is different. And this is not only in a place, because time and space are two things we need to organize our material life, but they don't exist really. So it's something more. So that's why we made a Sangha, because Sangha, it's the energy field, the energetical place in which people start gathering to make their energies more aware, more lift up and becoming more aware. So it's a path which is not only individual, but since we're all related, maybe someone like my friend in 1993 that started saying, read this book, read this other book. He understood my field and did what he could to bring me up. That's the same thing we will all do all together. You're doing a great job, Akanksshaa. So I believe you have the same aim of what I'm telling. So, and I feel that. I mean, I feel your connection. When we connect, I feel really a very strong flow starting, and I have to keep grounded, not to fly away with my head. So this is what I feel and I think.
Yeah,
These are only words. These are only words. I invite people listening to this interview just to let these words flow and feel what their energy tells them and their feedback.
in Autobiography of a Yogi, Yogananji has talked about the karma little bit differently. The general understanding as per the Indian scriptures is that you are stuck in a karmic cycle. What goes around comes back, and you have to kind of face your karma. But in Autobiography of a Yogi, Yogananji has talked about different ways to deal with karma. He said, don't just accept that because this is karma, I have to kind of go through it. And there are ways to burn your karma and increase your free will and reduce the destiny part of it. So how does Kriya Yoga help in all of this?
Yes. Karma often is a very good excuse not to get aware. We use words. To, if we don't use a word, the underlying thing doesn't exist. So we are condemned by words. So there's nothing, I believe, energetically as karma and dharma. Those are simply moments. Once you are not identified and you're in a fifth dimension and you're connected, there's nothing like karma or dharma. Everything has a purpose. Now that I have a different understanding, I am grateful for all the terrible moments I've lived. Because without those terrible moments, I simply would be a puppet moving with with strings pulled by my ego.
Mhm.
That's all. So those moments were really the core part of my process. What I feel, and words are very difficult to explain this, is that everything is necessary, has to be. What makes the difference is how I process it. I can say, oh, it's karma, I have to live it, okay, hit me hard. Or I can say, as I said before, okay, what this thing is telling me, what should I let go? What's the lesson? What's the identification I have to let go now? Once I do it, the thing stops. Has no reason of existing, but not physically. I mean, I've lost everything a couple of times. I will lose everything another time, at least when I leave this body. I mean, of course, but I've lost something in the way anyway. But once you're no more identified, that doesn't really matter. It's not a real problem. It doesn't exist as a problem. So it's simply, there's no use also of talking about. It may be painful sometimes, but you have emotional body, so that's normal. That means you are alive in this material world if you have emotions. But you have also not to identify with them. Life is painful, but as long as if you identify with those possessions, or else it's always like searching for the, how do you call it, the sacred arch. Oh, it's always an adventure. It's always a clue to evolution. So when you live in that dimension, Dharma and karma really don't exist. It's just one movement, one whole movement. To evolve, you have to let something more go. So a lesson comes. It's karma. Yes, it's karma because you build something around an identification, and at a certain point, we learn it the hard way. That is terrible karma. Or you learn it the good way, and you say, okay, what's the point? What shall I let go now? And when you let go everything at the end, at the end of all the process, that's just letting go the material plane with your body. You transcend, you become an avatar, you become Babaji, you become Christ, you become Buddha. This is what I feel.
Many times people understand enlightenment is something that happens like in a moment, and suddenly you become enlightened, and that's about it. What is your understanding of enlightenment, and is there any difference between enlightenment and liberation?
Yes, I always use two metaphors. There are persons that do the surfers, and so they just switch on surfing safari music. They go from a wave to the other one, just in the sun, and they think life is just changing wave every time. So every time they have some difficulty, they just change wave. Okay, let's try Kriya Yoga. No, no miracle happened. Okay, let's try working with the angels. No miracle happened. Okay, let's try with, but that's not a seeker. That's a life sipper. That's a person that doesn't want to face. Let's use that horrible word. That doesn't want to face his karma, his knots. Let's call them knots. Doesn't want to let go. And so that person is not a true seeker. A true seeker is a deep diver. So a deep diver just goes down and down and down, and that's hard work. That's not wandering around everywhere. But once you go down, you understand what's lying under, what's beneath the surface, and the more you plunge, the more you find a fantastic world. But that means everybody can surf, maybe laying on their belly because they don't stand on the surf. But very few persons can plunge deeply. that needs physical, mental, spiritual preparation, means being fit, being every day doing something to be prepared for it. So enlightenment may come in a moment. It may come in a moment after several years of practices, yes. But usually it's every day a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And what happens? You know the tale of the frog, no? That if you put it in some water and you heat the water very slowly, the frog doesn't realize until it dies. Right. It's like being enlightened, very little, very little, very little, very little, and you don't realize you're getting always more aware and more aware. So what people should do is keep track of what happens if they are in the frog situation, no? So they can tell, okay, 1 year ago I was a different person. Where am I now? The problems I had a year ago are the same problems. How would I approach them? So keep track, because you won't be the frog. There's certain points that says, oh, I'm enlightened. Every single day, a little sparkle joins, because your system, it's getting more clean, and energy flows and flows a little bit more. At a certain point, something will just pop up, and you feel a lot of energy. That's my experience, at least.
Okay. And what we understand is that there are different levels of enlightenment. And for example, Buddha is known as the ultimate level. In some scriptures, they say that he escaped the cycle of life and death, and that is completely liberated. And because we are going through this ascension process right now, what my understanding is that the earth itself is moving into fifth dimension, and some of us are moving into higher dimensions, not just fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, and higher dimensions. So that is where this entire becoming free from the cycle of birth and death, and living in an enlightened or liberated state comes. So what is your understanding about all of this?
I have difficulties in just putting in boxes what I feel. We need boxes. We need boxes to understand something, because if we don't create boxes with a label, we can't approach what it is. So I feel that we are putting in boxes also this process of energetical transformation, which is beyond us and beyond the single person and individual. So what I understand is simply we are putting boundaries and levels to something which is a great process. A great process which my dog. A great process which has different doors. I mean, as we have different lineages for Kriya Yoga, we have philosophical approach, we have psychological approach. As we have different approaches, also the energy probably has different flows, which will all bring to the same thing. So there are differences, or else everything would be the same. I mean, but I don't get to understand really with my whole system beyond a certain point. So beyond a certain point, I don't put any more labels, or probably when I'll see flowers grow by the roots, I'll understand everything. But until that point, I'm okay with what I arrive to feel. There's a thing that brings us wanting to know more and more and more, label and put boxes, but that's out of fear of the void. We feel the void, the non-existence. That's our really deepest fear. Once we let go also that one, everything does not need to have a meaning. Since you are connected, you have the clear perception of what it is. And you, at least I, don't need anymore to put labels and use boxes. So I don't really have a clear idea about different levels of illumination, enlightenment. I only know there are different ways energy gets up to the top. Mm-hmm. It will, everything at the end will be in one unity. This unity will be made of trillions and trillions of different colors, of different energies, of different paths, of different awarenesses. And this will be the total awareness of all that it is. So we are simply a part. The avatars are a bigger part, a stronger part, but are a part. So there are differences, and I don't need to label them. I don't feel the fear of the void for which I need to grasp on something.
Okay. Yeah. No, the question was not from the space of fear, but simply from the space of, if we are progressing and ascending at this point, yes, as a collective consciousness, then how does this entire thing work? That was, and I wanted to get your perspective on that. I wanted to understand your perspective on, if we are ascending, and we are ascending as Earth, right, as a collective consciousness now, and like you said, that you may not label it as different levels of enlightenment, but yes, you do know that there are different energetic vibrations.
Yes.
And accordingly, the dimensions also work based on the vibrations. So that is what I wanted to understand. What is your experience and your perspective about that?
I never thought about it, so I have to feel in myself what really I feel. I just feel I'm in a flow, and in that flow I'm not disconnected from everything. So, but in this connection, there are parts which flow faster, like in a river. Near the banks, the flow is slower. In the middle is faster, or according to something which is under rocks, and maybe faster. So according to what's underlying, there are faster flows and slower flows. Even if apparently we are on the same line, something is faster, it's beyond. I feel in difficulty if I think about separations. What I feel is like every level, it's like an osmotic process. If something moves up, something underlying must move up in the same time. So it's a continuous process. And energy simply gets higher and higher. And the more it gets higher, the more pull-ups, lower energy. I feel it this way. So the levels are really more fluid than with boundaries. And simply it's I make an example, not on persons. I mean, we are connected also to animals. I mean, you just saw a dog, and that's a lower energy. But we're pulling also animals up as energy. That's what's happening. And also animals are evolving, and they're evolving, especially being near humans. It's evolution. It's something pulling. The same happens with all the human beings. Some human beings are pulling more, and this energy goes up, and some entities which were or were not human, which are in higher levels, are simply evolving themselves and pulling us up. So it's a very, this is what I feel. So these are the levels. Perhaps at a certain point, my energy will get in this body or in another body. I don't know. This is something I don't yet understand. will be pulling so much up, I will not need to go anymore in the physical plane because I'm somewhere else, but I will still be pulling on this plane because I'm connected to this one. And like in an osmosis. I don't have other words, Akanksshaa.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question.
Okay. When you talked about higher beings and higher entities, and you also talked about avatars, and Babaji is known as Mahavatar. So, have you connected with any of the higher beings and received guidance from them for your progress or path?
Not directly, but I always feel the presence, the guidance, and things arrive to me just to be taken and understood. Things happen, the right things happening in the right moment. I mean, they're challenging. They always happen 6 months before I'm ready. So I always have some challenge in them. They'll just come like this. You know? I have to work for them. But this happens, and if I look behind in my life, it always happened. Simply I wasn't aware. So I feel guidance, especially when I use mantras. And I feel the presence. And that's very, very stabilizing because you feel that connection and you understand by that connection you're part of something greater. And also in this case, what I said applies also to Babaji and to the Mahavatars. I mean, they're entities in a higher place, and they're evolving. They're evolving also through us. So they're pulling us up as they go up again. So it's usually they speak about Brahma's breath, no? So it's like it's breathing, and this is evolution, and directly from the original source, everything is being pulled up. So in that, obviously, it's like I'm in a flow. In that flow, I have Babaji, Mataji, I have Shiva, so they're pulling me, not someone else, but because I'm in that flow, this is what I feel. So I feel their presence and not another presence. But at the end, also them, they have let go their individuality, and they're simply a very higher flow of the energy, which is indirectly pulling me up. This is what I feel.
Okay.
So I'm very grateful for being in that flow and being connected to those entities.
You have also trained in NLP and hypnosis, which are Western modalities.
Yes.
And you are also practicing Kriya Yoga, which is Eastern tradition.
Yes.
How do you think that they complement each other?
NLP and hypnosis are simply tools to help you, if well used, because they may be terribly misused as everything, but if well used, they are very powerful tools to help yourself see your mechanisms, and work on yourself to see how you work, and that really you have software programs. You're like a computer, you have software programs. And so when you understand, it's not you, it's simply your programs. It's like detaching and being the witness and witnessing all your programs working. And you say, okay, I have these programs. So like I have them, if I don't identify with them, I can work on them to make them more functional. And this is a good support to the practices. It's like plowing it's like plowing the field, and then with Kriya Yoga, you just, with a plowed field, everything is easier. And by the way, many practices in Kriya Yoga work directly with the unconscious mind, and that's hypnosis.
So they work with subconscious mind more than the conscious mind, is what my understanding was. And Kriya Yoga works with both subconscious as well as superconscious. So, can you talk a little bit about that? What kind of role does conscious, subconscious, superconscious mind play in our evolution?
In normal life, when one is not aware, he lives in the opposite way. He's always in his conscious mind. He's always overthinking. And overthinking is separative. And to keep steady, you have to identify with something. And that brings a lot of fear. Because when you identify with something, underlying, you really fear not you really feel you're not that thing. So underlying is the fear. I'm not that thing. Who am I? No. The more this fear gets bigger, the more you identify, and it's a vicious circle. And we use the subconscious mind is it's like a storage, a big storage. So it's like having a file. In this file, there's a picture, a photograph, or a movie. And to this movie, there's attached an emotion. And so in life, every time through the biases, every time you have some clues that bring you to that memory, that emotion goes up. And the subconscious minds bring you that emotion up, and that's psychologically a transfer. And you react to that memory, not what is happening in that moment. That's why you say you're not aware. Because you're not aware of not living in the present, but you're living in the past. You're reacting to a memory. That's how the subconscious mind works, when you're not aware, when you're in your mind. And the superconscious at that point is simply cut off from the system. What happens when the great evil, let's call it this way, in a dualistic way, when a person is really evil, really a bad person, is simply cut off from the superconscious, is cut off from his essence. And there's a fracture. So there's no more ethics. There's no more feeling of good, bad, or... This is because we work in the opposite way. What happens through practice and through awareness? You simply turn around the other way. You live in the superconscious mind mostly, and so you're very well aware of the storage in your subconscious. You're very well aware of your programs, and so you simply disconnect them. That doesn't mean you're like dead, no? That means everything happens, but simply you choose what to live and how to live it, and you understand when the transfers goes, and simply you work on them so they won't work anymore. So this is what really I experimented. So it's like Patanjali. Patanjali, on his first verse, says, yoga is the process of cleansing of the subconscious mind. Then the witness sits in his true nature. And it's mind-blowing that a couple of thousands of years ago, a person said this thing. Because that meant he was really aware of the tilting of the mind and what was the real process, the awareness. And so once you're freed from this process, you're freed not from having it, but from being slave identified with it. Because to live in this world, in this body, you need to have a process, or else you'll be dead. So, but you see it, you're the witness, and you decide what to take and how to work it. You become the master of yourself. You're not more slave of your identifications and of your processes. I don't know if it makes sense. If I answer.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yes. So the more you become aware of your subconscious level patterns, and the more you choose with awareness different responses, and the more progress you will have, essentially.
Absolutely, yes. because you'll identify more with the superconscious mind. And so you'll start to live in another dimension. We can call it the fifth dimension if you want. You start to be there, and there everything has another meaning. Your life purpose changes. And you simply don't bother with things. Once you said, "Oh, this is dramatic," you'll take away drama from your life.
Absolutely. What has been your most profound spiritual experience in your life?
That's a good question. I believe the dream when I was 18 years old. Then it always has been a continuous path, one step after the other one foot after the other one. So no great. I mean, I had things. I mean, when something opens down here, you feel you start sweating like a mad. You have energy going, but I always thought those are simply manifestations and nothing of really important. I bothered more than I think the most. I've had a glimpse of enlightenment. It has been given to me as a prize, I think, just a couple of seconds. But
what was that experience? Can you describe it?
I don't know how to explain it. You simply feel something very. I don't know how to put it in words. I believe there are no words. But it was just a glimpse. I didn't. I said thank you, because I understood it was just a little gift given to me to say, okay, you're you're Arjuna, no, you're a warrior. Okay, we'll give you a little medal, but that's it. But so I won't catalog it as a really the greatest experience which has changed my life has been that I say it was a dream, but it wasn't really a dream. I don't know how to call it. Maybe you have a name for it. I don't. When I was 18, that I was on the ridge of that mountain, and I made the choice of my life, definitely. So that was, and I still feel it very, very strongly, even though 48 years have passed. No, 50, no, 48 years have passed.
Right. Yeah, these are called as prophetic dreams. When you get a lot of messages and downloads and visions in your dreams, they're normally called as prophetic dreams. So
Yes, what happens when you're connected? I usually don't speak about it because then people think, oh, okay, I want to reach this, but that's a trick. What happens is usually at night, when I remember them, I dream what will happen the next day. But probably it's just connection, but I don't feel it. It's a spiritual experience. It's just connection. It doesn't have the same quality of that dream. It's not life changing. It's simply connection.
you had mentioned that you do get guidance. So any particular experience where you got guidance and you did something differently?
It's quite daily, this one. I understand what I have to do. I mean, people seek for answers because they're afraid of their choices. This very, very rarely happens to me because I always have an answer, which doesn't come from here. It comes from a connection. And that also makes you lose fear. Because sometimes you feel, in human terms, it's the wrong answer because it would bring you some trouble. But you know you have to do it because that will bring to you the lesson, the next step. So I don't know how to say it in other things. It's a guidance which is a connection.
Okay.
Which you have all the answers because you are in another dimensions and all the connections give you the answer, give you the purpose, give you the guidance. You say, okay, I have to do this. Okay, I'll do it. But I have to face troubles. It doesn't matter. They are not troubles. They are simply They're simply the steps I have to walk through to get even higher, because I will have to let go something else.
What do you recommend to people for strengthening this connection and intuition in general?
To choose a path they really feel for them is the right path, not something because their best friend is doing. They feel and do the deep plunger. Work hard. Do it at least for 6 months, very hard, and then see what happens. But do it. Don't procrastinate. Don't change when you find some difficulties, because your system will try to stop you. Your system of identifications, which is your ego. Your ego is nothing else than a system of identifications. When we're born, we have to identify with something, and so we build the ego. And with the ego comes these things, come the identifications, come the personality, comes everything. That system is built to preserve yourself, and so will try to keep you pulled down for survivance, because that system doesn't understand you have to evolve. But when you become aware, that system simply bows to your higher self and becomes your best friend. But it has to bow before.
Yeah, and that comes with awareness.
Absolutely, yes.
So can you give our viewers a simple technique that they can follow in day-to-day life for cultivating that awareness and letting go of the restrictive identifications?
Yes, I can give 2 simple techniques. One is Babaji's mantra. Start to sing it and keep singing it. After a little bit, that mantra will become less conscious and more like something in the background, but this will keep you connected. You have in your channel Babaji's, Om Kriya Babaji Nama Om. You have it? Okay, so maybe link it in the comments.
Om Kriya Babaji Nama Om, right?
Yes. Just sing it. Sing it continuously. Om Kriya Babaji Nama Om. With the emotions you have in that moment. So if you feel sad, just sing it with sadness. If you're happy, with happiness. If you feel love, with love. At the end, it will always be with love. Sing it continuously, loudly if you're alone, or and if you feel like dancing, dance. Do anything you like. And when you are with people around, and perhaps you're annoyed or you feel some bad emotion, just in your mind. So keep using it, keep using it, keep using it. Then the mantra will become your support. Your support. And then breathe with your belly. You have some techniques in your channel about breathing with your belly?
I have not talked about it on the channel. I do teach some of them, but please go ahead and talk about that.
Yes. So it's what it's called in our tradition, Matrika Pranayama. And simply close your eyes. You sit with your back very straight. Right hand on the left hand for males, and females with the left hand on the right hand. The difference, we have energies flowing in a different way inside us, so that's the reason. And simply breathe through the nostrils and feel your belly inflate. Pull in as much air as you can, and you count how much time it takes. Then in the same time, start exhaling, and you exhale in the same time. And do it at least for 2 or 3 minutes at a time. And see how you feel afterwards. This will make you feel very calm, very stable, very connected. So these are the 2 techniques, very simple, but very, very effective. And something will start happening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The name Arjuna was given to you. Who gave you that name, and what is the significance, and how has it changed your life?
it has given me by two teachers, two masters. I've been applying also to a Maha Yoga Academy for 3 years, and there was Swami Sachidananda, was called. And after a while, he said, "You're Arjuna, the warrior with strong arms, because I'm very tough." Once I decide that thing, I just go through it without stopping. I mean, they have to shoot me. And then Sachidananda also gave me Arjuna as a spiritual name for the same reason, I believe. You don't have to be strong or very with a great willpower, or else you won't be. That's me. That's Arjuna. But it's my personal energy that doesn't have to be everybody's. There are also gentle people who have many doubts and many fears in approaching Kriya Yoga, who don't have the same energy. It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. It's simply they're not Arjuna. Maybe they're more gentle person, more sensible, and so they have a different path than I have. So that's all right. I don't want people identifying with me. So I'm not like him. I will never. That's not true.
So I asked my guests a few questions in a rapid fire round. Can I ask you these questions?
Yes, of course.
If you were to explain multidimensional soul to a common person or a layman, how would you explain it?
I would explain it through the genesis of the personality. We're always focused on our dimension, and this is the problem. But we have to focus from where we come from. Then we will have the two dimension. The energy. I mean, with all capital letters. In order to evolve and to expand, has to experiment, to do something, or else it will be just laying there. No. So at a certain point, a very little sparkle will just plunge somewhere and go through a process. So that little sparkle is Akanksshaa, it's Arjuna, it's Mario, it's John, it's Lucy. And what happens? That sparkle, in order to experiment this plane of illusion, not of reality, this plane of illusion, has to embody. And to do that has to forget his origin. And embodying, it has to have some tools. The first tool is, when we are born, we don't know who we are, where we are, what's existence. We're simply manipulated by everything around. A big guy takes us by the feet, gives us a couple of slaps on our bottom to make us cry, so our lungs will expand and we start breathing. I believe starting to breathe it's a very painful process. So everything is painful. We have nothing in control, and that's a terrible fear. I believe it's a great panic terror, and to overcome the terror, we have to enter in something that gives us a purpose, gives us some tools, and that's the personality. That's the personality. And we choose a personality. Probably it's the personality we have to work with to undo some knots, which we may call karma, but also are knots that the energy wants to work with. So we choose a personality, and then at that point, we don't still have all the character, the mind, and everything. So that's a first level. I mean, there's the original level, then there's first level. Between the origin and this level, there's a dispersion. So what we call an ontic dispersion. We simply lose memory of our essence, of what sparkle we are. So these are two different planes. Then, of course, the personality by itself needs something else. So we have, we choose an instinct, which may be generative or social or self-defensive. And it responds to three different energy, three different needs. And we choose also to be more in the heart or more in the head or more in the guts. So we have people which are more emotional, more mindful, or more instinctive. And the three things mix and start to build a character that may change through experiences, change through education, change through environment. And so this is a third level of consciousness. And this will bring to a bigger dispersion of the ontological level. So we'll be even more separated from this original spark. But in the exact time in which that spark separates from the original flow to go down, that's another dispersion. There's another separation. So we have all these levels of separations. And then there's the last level, which is the identification. When there's a complete identification with the material plane, there's a fracture between the awareness and the essence. And when that fracture occurs, there's the maximum evil possible, because there's no ethical connection. So what we have to do is just go down to go up again with all the experience done, because we do the reverse path. And we have to pass through connecting all those dispersions until we arrive to the origin, which is not simply the sparkle, because the sparkle has a dispersion from the origin, from the whole. So the Kriya Yoga is the process of going back home. So those are different levels. Then I don't know what names the different tradition may give to these levels. I'm very logical, so I speak a language I hopefully will be understood by the other persons. So it's like being on a mirror. They can mirror themselves and start being aware simply because something connects, like a linker. I don't know if I answered the question.
Yes. What is holistic well-being to you?
Holistic well-being, for me, it means working on all the bodies together and make them aligned in a well-being. That's not only physical. People used to be very, very aware of how their external body looks and feels. It's very difficult having people to be aware of their internal organs. And so have a healthy diet, do healthy movement, perhaps sometimes hang yourself upside down so the organs may relax a little bit. Work with the asanas on the internal organs. Even less people are aware of their hormonal system, and they don't work on their hormonal system. That's not only with nutraceutical, I mean with integrators, but it's also with Kriya Yoga, for example. Even less people are aware of their emotional body or their energetical body. But holistic means working with everything, also their mental well-being. Why looking at those horror movies, splatter movies, which it's like eating rubbish every day. It's like going to the fast food and eating really industrial rubbish every day. It's industrial rubbish for the mind. Start studying something nice, something good, anything, philosophy, psychology, history, history of the saints. Then you want to go in deeper. I wrote a book. Now I'm finishing to write a book on the history of philosophy to understand the fil rouge, which underlies from our origin of the thinking to today. And it opens your mind. Starting to study certain things, I understood, for example, that Giordano Bruno was a great initiate and was not only simply a philosopher or a magician. Those were side effects. So that means holistic. Do something for your spiritual life. Do something for the other ones. Start nourishing unconditional love, which is a very powerful item. Unconditional love. It's pulls you up and pulls up the ones you have around you so this is holistic.
What is the ultimate purpose of life, according to you?
Reverse that dispersion and go back to the unity. That will bring you all that things which will make you self-realized. And underlying must be unconditional love. Without unconditional love, everything is simply out of purpose.
And what is love?
Love is connection. Love is not possession. It's not identification. It's true connection. When you are truly connected, you can only feel unconditional love. That means love everything that it is simply because it is. I love dogs because you may go out for 1 minute, you come back, they're really happy to see you out of nothing, just because you exist. That's unconditional love. Love, sometimes I have persons who really get me upset, especially in my work. I have to work with entrepreneurs. Sometimes I have to work against them for their own sake. And sometimes they may be very disgusting. I separate the being from the personality. I may not tolerate that personality and make that person know. I may say to that person, you're out of my material life. But that doesn't mean I stop loving the essence I see in the person. Because when you're connected, you see the essence and you see the trouble that person is passing through. And you strongly develop empathy, which is strictly connected to love.
What is self-love according to you?
Self-love? Unconditional love. There's no separation between me and Akanksshaa. I'm feeling connected to Akanksshaa and I love her in this moment. But it's the same love I have for myself because I feel that the energy is the same. I mean, how can I not love? It's very difficult to explain in words. The energy is the same and it's full of unconditional love. So if I feel connected to Akanksshaa, my only option is to love her. Not as a woman, but as a being, as the energy she has. And I feel your energy, Akanksshaa. So how can I be separated from you? So if I love you, I love myself. And I love myself, I love you. There's no separation, because when I feel separation, that means I'm in a dispersion. So we go back to the other topic. When you, in that level of separation, you bring connection, that connection will bring you to the next separation, okay, but will bring you to a greater connection. And the greater the connection is, the greater is the unconditional love. And conditional means also not conditioned by identifications.
What is your parting message for our audience today?
I could say develop unconditional love, but it's telling nothing. Be a plunge diver, choose something, do something. Maybe only the 2 techniques we said, but do them 10 times a day. Do something. Start doing something. Stop thinking. Start doing something.
Okay. And how can people connect with you?
People can connect with me. I have a site, which is Kriya Yoga Sangha. There's a connection mail link. Everybody feel free to write me, unless you're 1,000 persons all together. shock me for a time management, but or else in 1 day, maximum 2 days, I always answer. So anything a person may need or help to be a plunger, deep diver.
Okay, so we'll give the links in the video description. It was lovely having you here, having this conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Akanksshaa. You gave me really a lot of energy.
Thank you. Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.